Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This is going to be my post-fight reaction to UFC Vegas 47. The main event was Jack Hermansson versus Sean Strickland. And in this post-fight reaction, I'm mainly going to talk about the main event, but I'm also going to talk about Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Carlston Harris, since I feel a lot of people will be interested in my reaction for that fight as well. Other than that, I mean, the card, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a terrible card. There were some exciting fights. Julian Arosa versus Peterson was really good. But I just mainly feel like people want to hear about those two fights in particular. So first off, let's look at the main event. Sean Strickland beats Jack Hermansson by split decision. And coming into this fight, my official prediction, I thought Sean Strickland would win this fight by decision. So I got that right. But this fight really didn't live up to expectations. I thought this fight would be far more exciting than it actually was. If you go through it round by round, I briefly will go through it. The first round was actually really close. I thought the first round was really Jack Hermansson's leg kicks versus Sean Strickland's jab. I scored the first round for Jack Hermansson. I thought the leg kicks were more volume of leg kicks and also more effective than the jab of Sean Strickland in the first round. Second round, I thought it was pretty much the same. I mean, this fight was pretty much the same thing. But the second round was more leg kicks from Hermansson, but I thought, it was 50-50 going into the end of that second round, and then Sean Strickland drops Hermansen. So being 50-50 kind of in the striking department, there was some, also in the first round as well as the second round, I think there was some defended takedowns by Sean Strickland. So at least he kind of answered that question as far as his takedown defense. I assumed that he would be able to stuff the takedowns of Hermansen. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But he's able to stuff some takedowns. I don't remember if it was first, second round. There was a couple shots throughout the fight for Jack Hermansson. I believe it was 8 takedown attempts. But second round I thought was 50-50 in the striking. Hermansson was not able to get him down. And at the tail end, like last 2 seconds of the second round, Sean Strickland drops Jack Hermansson. And I think that stole the round for him. Third round, more of Sean Strickland just pumping the jab. And it's not, just some lazy jab. It's the straight, like hard, busting up jab of Sean Strickland. And he wasn't super active. Jack Hermansson was swinging at a lot of air. He was still chopping the legs a little bit. But one thing I noticed, beginning in this fight is Sean Strickland was addressing that leg kick early. And I think it was, he was checking, he was lifting the leg, he was turning the shin into the kick. And I think that helped him throughout this fight because Jack Hermansson was really trying to beat up that leg. Third round, I gave to Sean Strickland as well. Fourth round, more of the exact same. Jack Hermansson, though, to his credit, started to get more active in the fourth or fifth round. I thought Sean Strickland wins the fourth round as well, just busting him up with the jab. Occasionally, he would land a right hand. Occasionally, he'd throw a right hand to the body as well. And he was throwing some leg kicks. Fifth round, Jack Hermansson, I thought in the third round or so, you could really hear Jack Hermansson breathing very, very heavily. And I thought Jack Hermansson might get tired in this fight, and Sean Strickland wasn't doing very much. So I thought, okay, he's going to fade, and then Strickland's going to turn it on late. In this fifth round, Jack Hermansson really turned up the volume. And, still typical kind of sloppy striking, sloppy entries. But I think he outstruck Sean Strickland in the fifth round, and he steals the fifth round. So my personal scorecard, I had 2, 3, and 4 for Strickland, and I had 1 and 5 for Hermansson. I thought 3 and 4 were clearly Strickland. I thought 5 was clearly Hermansson. I think 1 and 2 you can kind of say were really close. 1 in particular was super close. And 2, again, I thought it was 50-50 up until Strickland dropped him, and it wasn't like he rocked him really bad. So speaking of the decision, because I know a lot of people want to talk about that, and I will always give you guys my honest opinion, even if it's not the popular opinion, even if a lot of people are going to say, what are you talking about? I know somebody, a lot of people are going to be saying that the split decision, it came to split decision, Saul D'Amato, I think, had 48-47 for Hermansson. I do not think that that was egregious. I did not score it for Jack Hermansson, but if you look at that second round was pretty close up until the drop. I think fifth round clearly went to Hermansson, and I scored the first round for Hermansson. So if he takes that second round, there you go. It's 3-2 Jack Hermansson. So I don't think it was as crazy an indictment on the judging. A lot of people, I love crapping on the judging. The judging is terrible a lot of the time. I personally thought Strickland won, but I didn't think it was particularly egregious to score it for Jack Hermansson. And also, talking about the overall fight, Strickland was winning, those middle rounds, but Jack Hermansson, this isn't me personally because, I'm watching the fight, I'm seeing what happened, but I don't trust the judges. Jack Hermansson was very active. He was swinging at a lot of air. He was missing a lot of his strikes, but he was very active. And the judges seeing that, and then they see Sean Strickland just walking backward, just pumping a jab over and over and over again. I can see how they could potentially look at that and say, going into the scorecards, I did a live stream of this fight card. Thank you guys who joined me for the live stream. I said, I do not trust this going to the scorecard because Jack Hermansson was super active. Even though he was missing a lot of the shots, he was super active in those middle rounds, even though he was losing, getting busted up by that jab. And I did not trust those judges going into the decision. But overall, I don't think either guy comes out of this fight looking particularly good. I have no desire to see Sean Strickland fight for a title anytime soon. I said coming into this fight, if he had a really impressive performance, he could probably steal the next title shot if Israel Adesanya is able to defend against Robert Whittaker next Saturday at UFC 271. But this performance is not going to steal you a title shot. It was a terrible fight. And one thing I really want to touch on, and you guys, if you join me for the live stream, you know this. There's nothing I can't stand more than when a guy doesn't barely fight the whole fight. And then the fifth round, the last few seconds, or the last round, because it could be a 3-round fight, the last few seconds, all of a sudden you want to throw a lot of punches and talk shit. And Sean Strickland did exactly that. At the end of the fifth round, with like 10 seconds to go, maybe it was even 5 seconds to go, all of a sudden he starts charging forward, calling Jack Hermansson all sorts of names, and just acting all fired up. Where was that energy for the last 24 minutes and 50 seconds? Because I did not see that energy at all. And I just think it's a little bit disappointing. You have very little output for the entire fight, and then all of a sudden you want to act like a savage at the tail end of the last round when you know now the fight's over. I just think that is such a stupid look. And Sean Strickland really comes out looking like a fool in this fight. I know a lot of people like his unique personality and the way he talks, but he's out there saying, yeah, I want to kill guys in the cage. I look to really hurt guys, bust them up, and there's going to be blood. And I know some of that's talk to promote the fight, but then you come out there and you just pump a jab all night and do absolutely nothing else. I know that Jack Hermansson was busting up that leg early. One thing I did want to compliment Strickland on, he started to address that leg kick early. He was able to turn the shin in. He was lifting the leg up, and it limited his forward momentum a little bit, so Jack Hermansson did a great job of that. But it's nice because sometimes you see a guy come out there and start battering a guy's leg, and they just do nothing about it. They just accept that their leg's going to be battered, and then it eventually affects them later in the fight. So Strickland did a good job of that. But other than that, there's no real positives that I can come out of this fight. I expected Strickland to win. I expected him to outstrike him. But how are you going to be considered a volume striker? And I don't know what the stats are, and I don't ever believe the official UFC stats anyway. But how are you going to come out there and just barely do, just do enough just to win? And you talk all that before the fight. I want to kill a guy in the cage, all this crazy stuff. You come out, oh, you're really going to kill a guy by pumping that jab, I'm sure. And I get it. Sean Strickland's talking to promote the fight, but I just think it's a bad look. As far as Jack Hermansson, I don't really think he loses much in this fight. His striking, I knew it before the fight. I said it in my prediction video, is very, very sloppy. And, he just doesn't have the hands. He has good kicks. He was ripping some good kicks to the body. I said coming into this fight also, I thought Jack Hermansson could potentially win, maybe a body shot TKO with a body kick. He had some good body kicks. Strickland, was able to absorb them, and there was really no issues with that. But Strickland, Hermansson has to work on the hands. He just looks so sloppy coming in with these wild wingy punches. And, I don't know where Hermansson goes from here. But to be honest, I don't know where either guy goes from here because you look at Strickland's striking, while it's better than Jack Hermansson's, how's he going to perform against a Robert Whittaker? How's he going to perform against a Marvin Vettori? And definitely, how is he going to perform against the champion Israel Adesanya? Because I'll tell you this right now, Jack Hermansson has no chance to ever beat Israel Adesanya, and Sean Strickland has no chance to beat Israel Adesanya. And I know both these guys are ranked in the top 10, but I don't think there's any amount of improvements either one of these guys can make unless Adesanya absolutely falls off a cliff. But at that point in time, somebody else will take him out, whether it be Andre Muniz or, Nasruddin Amaivov coming up, something like that, an up-and-coming contender. It's not going to be either one of these guys. This was overall a main event that left a lot to be desired. And I was actually really excited for this main event because it was a very relevant middleweight fight, and I believed either guy. With the state of the middleweight division, Israel Adesanya has 2 wins over a lot of these guys, looking to get a second win over Robert Whittaker, embarrassed Paulo Costa. I thought one of these guys could have stole the next title shot if Adesanya does beat Whitaker in the rematch. And, they didn't come out there and perform as such. Again, I thought Strickland won the fight. I thought he outstruck him. But other than that jab, I don't know what he did. The other thing I can applaud for Sean Strickland, but I knew this already coming into the fight, or at least I suspected it. He has great takedown defense. But again, Hermansen's ability to close the distance, he just looks so sloppy. He's shooting from the outside. He doesn't use the combinations to disguise the shots. So you just see him coming from a mile away. I think he shot on 8 takedowns in this fight. He only ever really got even partially close on one of them. It was a double leg, and then he shifted to a single leg. But Strickland was able to defend every takedown with ease. But again, also you look at the middleweight division, and there's not a whole long list of grapplers. So it's not like Sean Strickland's going to be fighting a bunch of up-and-coming grapplers when he moves up in the division. Most of these guys are strikers. So, it's decent. And again, I don't think that Jack Hermansson has some elite level of grappling anyway. We saw him get out-grappled by Khamzat Chimaev. We still need to see where Khamzat's at. I think his grappling is a very high level. But we've seen Jack Hermansson out-grappled before. We've seen people shut down his takedowns. Jarrett Cannonier was able to, I think, shut down a couple of them and eventually knock him out. So I don't know, where Sean Strickland, it's not like people are going to be like, oh my God, this performance by Sean Strickland was incredible. I just thought it was a lackluster performance. I don't think either guy comes out of this fight a real winner. And I don't even want to talk about this main event anymore. Let's move on to the featured fight on the main card. And the fight that I was actually probably most excited for on the whole card, and that is Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Carlston Harris. And this fight was exactly what I expected. Now, I predicted Shavkat for a second round TKO. He got the TKO at the end of the first round. Well, actually, it was a KO. He was out cold. So technically, that's a KO. Shavkat, super impressive. I know he had 2 fights in the UFC coming in. He looked very impressive in both those fights. He fought some decent competition. He debuted against Alex Cowboy Oliveira, and he came into this fight and he made it look easy. I don't think Carlston Harris landed one shot on him this whole 4 minutes or so into the fight. It was a lot of Carlston Harris winging wild, heavy punches, but just missing. Shavkat, I thought he was more technical. He clearly showed that he is. I thought he was more well-rounded. He clearly showed that he is. I think maybe 2 minutes into the fight, he landed a spinning back kick to the body. And again, Shavkat was more versatile in his variety of attacks against Carlston Harris. He hurt him with that spinning back kick. Carlston Harris ends up clinching up with him. Shavkat out-grapples him, trips him to the ground. They eventually work their way back to the feet. And, Shavkat just looked really good in this fight on the feet. He looks super technical. He was landing great strikes. By the way, when he did get clinched up by Carlston Harris, because I said it in my prediction video, a little bit of a weakness of his is being controlled up against the fence. He wasn't controlled there for very long. And the only reason he ended up there is because after he hurt him with that spinning back kick, he ran in with that jump in knee that he likes to do. Unfortunately, it didn't work for him, but he's able to get out the clinch. Then they're back, to the center of the cage. He lands a spinning wheel kick, knocks Carlston Harris down, and then uses the most picture-perfect, accurate ground and pound strikes, just hovers over Carlston Harris and just lands right on the chin and puts him out. And I cannot wait to see Shavkat Rakhmonov's next fight. This guy, I know he has a lot of hype, and I usually don't jump on a lot of hype trains, but after his first 2 fights, against Alex Oliveira and the other guy he beat, I can't remember his name right now for some reason, he looked super impressive. Carlston Harris was a nice little step up in competition. I know a lot of people don't know who Carlston Harris is, but he has decent grappling, he has decent hands, and he's a very big power puncher. And for Shavkat to just come out and make it look so easy against him, super impressive. I don't know if this is going to jump him into the top 15 of welterweight, but I think he probably belongs there at this point in time, and I think he deserves to get a big fight next. And there's some people, I'm probably going to pump the brakes on this a little bit, but there's a very good chance, some people are saying Shavkat Rakhmonov is the future of the welterweight division. There's potential in the future. We could see a Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Khamzat Chimaev fight. That's probably not happening this year, maybe next year, maybe end of next year. Who knows where both of these guys' career trajectory could go? But super impressive performance against a legit opponent. This was not a guy in Carlston Harris that people were artificially inflating his skill set before the fight, and now they're pretending that, oh, he got such a big win. this was a tough opponent in Carlston Harris. And he went out there and made it look super easy and was just able to KO him. And you know, there's so much to compliment, and it wasn't a quick 30-second KO. We've seen, you know, all of the facets in his game. We've seen his ground game. He was able to control Carlston Harris on the ground. We've seen his takedowns. He was able to trip Carlston Harris. We've seen his dynamic striking. We've seen his technical striking. You know, the fact that he's out there throwing spinning kicks to the body and landing with accuracy, spinning wheel kicks to the head, which the heel didn't actually land. It was more of the calf that landed and knocked him down. And then, you know, it's an art. I said this in my prediction video as well. Some guys, when they hurt a guy, they rush in and they throw these wild winging punches that half of them don't land, and then they get tied up. There's an art to ground and pound. And Shavkat went out there and had super accurate ground and pound. He hovered over him. He picked his shots, and 99% of them landed right on Carlston Harris's chin and absolutely put him to sleep. Perfect stoppage by the referee and super impressive performance. So we've seen all these facets in his game. It's not like it was just a quick KO where we really didn't get to see the fight play out. Even though if he would have deserved the win, it was one of those things where, oh, you know, okay, it was really impressive, but we didn't get to see how well-rounded his game is. We've seen it in the past 2 fights with submissions, and then we've seen it in this fight, how dynamic his striking is and all those other aspects. The only thing I'm wondering about, and, you know, we'll have that answered soon enough, I wonder how his cardio will do if he has to go 3 hard rounds against a legit contender. But it's still very early on in his UFC career. He's only 3 fights into the UFC. There's some guys who I will not mention their name who were 7, 8, 9 fights into the UFC, and they're still just trying to fight as many trash cans as they physically possibly can. I don't think that will be Shavkat. Making his debut against Alex Cowboy Oliveira just showed where the UFC thought of him and what he thinks of himself, and that he believes in himself, and I'm very interested in his future. A couple more notes on the card. Nick Maximoff, Nate Diaz's buddy, training partner, not impressed at all. I actually thought he lost the fight. I thought Soriano won the first and second round. And Maximoff, for the majority of the fight, all he did was just hang on, and he did not even cement the position. There was a lot of 50-50 positions. I did not think it was a robbery. I understood when it went to the scorecards. I thought Maximoff was probably going to get it. But I thought Soriano probably stole the first and second round, if my memory's correct. I feel bad for Sam Alvey. You know, he loses his original opponent in Phil Hawes. Brendan Allen steps in, clips him with the left hand, hurts him badly, follows up with ground and pound, and then snatches up a no-hooks rear naked choke and forces him to tap. Sam Alvey, I think, is on now a 7-fight losing streak. Probably going to be cut from the UFC. Trey Gore versus Brian Battle. Brian Battle wins by decision. Not a super impressive performance by Trey Gore. He just didn't let his hands go. You know, I think I scored 1 and 2, or I can't remember what I scored this fight. But I thought it could have went either way. Trey Gore hurt Brian Battle, busted him up. But Brian Battle just had more volume. And, you know, Gore just didn't let his hands go. When he did let his hands go, he was super fast. He was landing. But for the majority of the fight, Brian Battle was just chilling back, using his footwork, teep kicks to the body, landing jabs. And Trey Gore honestly deserved to lose this fight the way he fought. You can't come out and throw no strikes. I thought he won the second and third, or possibly won the second and third. I think the first round, he just basically took the entire first round off. And this is another guy, at least he did it before the fight, not the last 10 seconds. Trey Gore was talking in the cage right before the fight, and then he comes out for the whole first round, doesn't throw any strikes. Where was that energy you had when Bruce Buffer was in between you guys? Where was that energy at? Then we'll move down to the opener. Julian Arosa defeats Steven Peterson. Amazing fight. If you guys did not see this fight, go back and watch this fight. Julian Arosa wins by decision. I can't even remember what happened in this fight. Both guys rocked many times. Just a wild exchanges, spinning back elbow, spinning back fist, head kicks, body kicks, huge overhands. This fight was incredible. Both guys' stock goes up. It sucks that Steven Peterson missed weight, because now, if there is a fight of the night bonus, which I believe there probably will be a fight of the night bonus, he loses out on $50K because he missed weight. But Julian Arosa cements another win. I thought he deserved to win this fight. This was a great fight. Both guys rocked many times. I mean, there was at one point in time, I thought Julian Arosa was going to be finished in this fight. He survived, and the next thing you know, he's moving forward and winning the fight himself and getting close to a stoppage. And Julian Arosa has a weird vibe, and I know people are going to probably laugh at this comparison, but he has a similar striking style to like a Yuri Prohaska mixed with Dominic Cruz. The way he kind of wades in with his hands down low and he's throwing heavy power shots. I know Dominic Cruz isn't known for his power, but you know how he swings those heavy shots. They're not necessarily super powerful, but Yuri Prochazka, obviously, his shots are very hard. But I'm very interested in seeing where Julian Arosa goes in the featherweight division. I think a great performance tonight. But other than that, I think this wraps it up. Not super impressed with Sean Strickland, even though he wins the decision. Shavkat Rakhmonov, future guy to watch. Cannot wait to see his next fight booked. Let me know what you guys think of all this in the comments section. Do not forget to like the video. Also, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.